the DOC commissioner, the very first, when he got appointed into that position, the very first person that was for him was Senator Liz Miranda. They're all in each other's pocket, you know, and that's why I think we need to get public on it, because public is the people that put her into office.
Right,
they
the
voted
voters.
her in.
Yeah.
And I specifically say to her, you know, her office, not to her, it's somebody in the office, that I would never ask her for her help again, because not only the plea for help that I wrote to her and asking her for help with Chad's medical negligence, but the fact that I put her on alert with Vital Corps of them, you know, falsifying documents, medical negligence, medical fraud, medical malpractice, and she turned a blind eye to it. I told her, I'll never ask you for help again, because you're not in it for your constituents, you're in it for yourself. And I got no reply.
Damn.
What does no reply mean? That you have no defense, because what I'm saying is true.
Ain't got a moment when they see you down, just know they love it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today. So why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and before we get into why you're here, just a little bit about yourself.
My name's Danielle. I'm from East Boston, born and raised proudly. A little bit of my history. Well, I have two kids that have serious life-threatening diseases. I was married for 12 years, and I ended up being a single parent. So that led me to really hardcore advocate for, you know, I kind of fight the system. I have to live on the system, but you have to learn how to maneuver the system. So with all the no's, I turned them into yeses. So throughout the years, it was a struggle, especially because I had a drug addiction that nobody knew about.
Right.
So I suffered in silence, but I also at the same time made sure that my kids didn't suffer because of their ailments. Not that I passed judgment on anybody, but I didn't do anything to give my kids their ailments. It was built into their DNA, like with your brother.
Yeah.
And that's why I had reached out to you too, is because he has type 1 diabetes, and so does my daughter.
Yeah.
So I've been going through that with her for 17 years.
Wow.
And I always got no's, and it was like, what do you mean no? You know, she's got something that's medical. And if you're gonna say no, I'm gonna turn the no into a yes. So that's why I had reached out to you, because with the DOC and the Vital Corps healthcare strategies, they'll tell you one thing, and it's the exact opposite of what they're telling you. It's just a lot of people will take that at face value because you're under the assumption that they're doing their job. And they're doing just the opposite. They're collecting money. You know, they're charging the Massachusetts taxpayer money, and you don't know what you don't know. You know, so that's what I want to do today, is I want to expose the injustice. It's like they're up there for a reason, and they're already incarcerated.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their punishment, and that should stop there. Their
Exactly.
punishment should stop there. They shouldn't be more punished for being
On top of
inmates.
that, yeah.
They should have the same rights as we do out here. There's no barrier. There's no wall that's built, and I don't care what they say and what they do. They're not doing their effing job.
Not at all.
And I want to put a stop to that, because I don't care. As long as you're not a pedo, you know what I mean, or you don't hurt an animal, you should be able to get medical care, especially because we live in a state that has the best medical care in the world, not the country. So the fact that they're not getting even minimal, they treat the animals at the zoo better than they treat these inmates. And I have a problem with that, because the only one that can pass judgment and the only one that can do anything like that to any one of us, I believe, is the good Lord himself. And if he's got them here, that they still have a purpose and they have a reason. There's no man that's above the law.
Not at all.
You know, at the end of the day, we all bleed red.
For sure. And before we get into the DOC and all that, just like talk to me like as a mother, like finding out about your child having diabetes, right? Like walk me through that, because I, as a brother, found out about my brother. Actually, we were both in DYS. We were actually in, so it really goes back to being locked up too. We were both in DYS. We were both in Rosendale at the time. And juvenile didn't have the bathrooms in the cells. He kept having to go to the bathroom, and you know, at first they gave him a tough time, but that's how they found out. And my mom, she's kind of all over the place. So when she's telling me about this, oh, your brother has diabetes, and she's explaining it to me, I'm thinking my youngest brother, Anthony, to be honest, right? Because I don't know what it was, like he was born, she was on the methadone clinic. I don't know, like he had some health issues when he was younger, nothing crazy. So I don't know. I just was assuming that, you know. And then when I'm like, I don't know how she must have said his name. I'm like, wait, oh, you're talking about JoJo, ma? It just kind of was one of those things where it's like, damn, like especially being the big brother, like I wish I had it. You know what I mean? Because I want to take on that pain. And they were actually good enough to they let me see him actually not too long after that. We were in the same place too, but that was many years ago. So I guess my little rant done. What was your experience like when you found out about that? And like what's going through your mind?
Everything that we knew changed. I mean, I was working at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. I was 26, going on 27 at the time, and I had a career. It wasn't a job, and it was just. I knew right then and there that life was going to change forever, because it came to the point where like I couldn't even get her into a daycare facility. So a spot would be open, I'd fill out the application, they would get the application, and the spot would be miraculously filled. Nobody wants to take liability, because the misconception, especially with children with diabetes, is that they'll grow out of it. And if someone says that to me ever again in my life, I'm going to like karate chop you in the throat.
Right.
If you don't know about something, then don't speak about
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because diabetes is a disease that's different and manifests differently in everybody, but at the same time gets the same treatment. So all they need to do is eat properly. Diet and exercise is a big thing, and that's the misconception too. You don't go on a diet. A diet is what you eat. It's what you intake. So, you know, our diet as a family, I felt, had to change, which costs money.
Yeah,
you know, it's very expensive. But, you know, it's something that I could have addressed in a negative way. I could be that mother that's at Children's Hospital having a child that's getting, you know, chemotherapy because they're going to die of a disease.
Right.
I had to realize that it was something manageable, but it was up to us to manage.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, I was just smart enough and medically inclined enough because of my family and their history that it was something that it's like, you know, the doctors sit there and they want to read out of a book. Like you said,
Right.
it's something that you wish that you had. I tell people I have type 3. Even though there's no such
Right.
thing, but it is to me, because it's something that I had to learn on my own, deal with on my own. The family treated us like we had leprosy, for Christ's sake. It was like everybody was afraid of the disease. And I understand where they were coming from. They didn't want to hurt her, but education, just like with anything else, is key.
Yeah.
It's like you had to learn it, and then she had to learn it. And I've been fighting with the doctor, not fighting, I don't want to say, but going back and forth, and I would tell the doctors, I appreciate where you're coming from, but you read a book.
Right.
I live this.
Yeah.
We live this disease, and you've never lived a disease until you live the disease. And I wouldn't wish diabetes on my worst enemy,
That's a lot.
because it plays. It's a mind game, you know. And especially having a child that goes through puberty, that was the worst years. I mean, she's 19 years old, so she's starting to get out of that stage. But I mean, at one point, she was on enough insulin that, you know, that a 25-year-old grown man would be on, because her body wasn't absorbing it. So it's environment, it's diet, I mean, rich people, they have all these other doctors and all these other ways of handling things. I had to handle a child with diabetes on Mass Health, and it's not fun.
No,
it's not fun, but I've learned to maneuver the system and advocate properly, because getting somewhere is knowing what you're talking about. So do your due diligence, educate yourself before you open your mouth, which I had to learn the hard way, because I'm reactive.
No doubt.
You know,
So-
but that it's been hard, but it's been hard in certain ways, and it's been easy in others. You know.
So what was a barrier that you guys had to overcome as far as like you advocating on behalf of your child, like that you had to go through?
Well, getting her on like an insulin pump, because it's expensive.
Okay.
They would have rather put her on the needles because they're inexpensive. Well, just because of cost doesn't mean that nobody's entitled to anything.
Right.
But she was the perfect candidate for it. Her numbers were correct. Her A1C was good. You know, and I knew how to calculate things without the use of an insulin pump. And I got her on it, and she was on it for 10 years until she decided she didn't want to be on it anymore.
Because I feel like a lot of people have a misconception about like Mass Health and free healthcare. Like, oh, you get everything, you know what I mean? But that didn't seem to be the case. You had to really fight for that.
Yeah, you had to know what you were talking about. You had to know what you were doing, and you had to also know the resources that were out there. You know, but you also had it's like it's still a computer at the end of the day. And I don't know if it was just a money thing. I don't know if it was an education thing, because some people depend on that computer. And you can't, because there was many times where the pump itself would fail. Yep, and you had to know your backup, because I had many parents sitting in in the doctor's office, and they'd say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I'd say, "Of course," because how you, if you can't help anybody, then don't hurt them. So if they had a question for me as a parent, from one parent to another, because you don't understand what it's like to take care of a sick kid unless you have a sick kid. It's hard. And I don't look for pity from anybody, but a little bit of empathy towards my daughter would be nice, you know.
Especially where it's a child, like you said, you know what I mean, with something she was born with.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So you've been advocating for, as far as like for medical for a little bit
Even
now.
in school.
Even in school, so
Yep.
talk about that.
Like we lived in East Boston, and she was getting transportation we lived on Gladstone Street, and she went to the Bradley, which if you can walk up the 88s, it's right on the other side. But to drive there, you had to go down at Gladstone around the loop and then up to the hill. So she got medical transportation. Well, we moved to South Boston. We were on Old Colony, Mary Ellen McCormick projects, because I had gotten housing there. And all of a sudden, they wanted her she could have stayed at the Bradley, but they weren't going to provide transportation. I said, "Oh, no. What do you mean you're not going to provide transportation?" It just didn't make sense to me. So I started advocating for her in September of that school year. And by March of that school year, I had gotten a letter. They had rezoned the entire school zone so she could be included in getting medical, because she's medical transportation. Because people's misconception is if I bundle her up in 20-degree weather and we walked from my house to the train station, by the time we got there, she was sweating like a pig, because their body can't regulate the sugar. And yesterday I'm screaming at her, "No sugar, you got diabetes." And now I'm shoving sugar down her throat to get her sugar up.
It's gotta be confusing
To
for
me,
a child.
yes, and to me that didn't make sense when she could simply get a bus transportation that picked her up in front of the door, just like they did in East Boston, and bring her to the school that she was acclimated to, and the school was acclimated to her. So they knew her already, that she knew them, and she felt comfortable. Because think about it, you're a child, you have a disease, and you have to depend on adults. And not all adults are loving, caring adults. Some of them don't want to deal with it. They just want a paycheck. So I didn't want to have to go through that. Plus, I'm from East Boston, and all her friends were from East Boston. My friends were from East Boston. I had friends that I had known that now their kids are in school with my kid, and there was that sense. But not only just community, God forbid, like there was a time I had to make a phone call because I was late getting to the school, and I was able to call somebody that I knew and say, "Can you pick Dana up?" I wouldn't have had that in South Boston. I lived there 4.5 years. I didn't even know my neighbors. And that was a choice that I made, because they weren't so nice, those neighbors. And they were nothing but drama, headache, and aggravation. And I just didn't want to get involved.
You don't got to tell me about the neighbors. Definitely a roll of the dice. It's almost like getting like a cellmate, right? Like add 'em all. Like sometimes you get a good guy, sometimes you get the worst people. Especially, I've been there with neighbors. So you've got a knack for this advocating thing. So talk to us about how it brings you to advocating now and the troubles with the Department of Correction.
The Department of Corruption, you mean?
Yep.
Let's correct that. No, seriously. So Chad and I we've known each other all of our lives. His aunt and my uncle had a child. So we're not related, but we have a mutual cousin.
Right.
So we've known each other. Then just, from being around the way, and we've known each other our whole lives. But with what happened with him, we all lost touch and just assumed that he was okay, so to speak, okay. One of our mutual friends got in her feelings one day, and she had written to him like, "Hey, where's Chad? What's going on with Chad?" And she wrote to him, and they ended up conversating.
Wow.
And she has a boyfriend that's actually incarcerated, and to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend of somebody that's behind the wall, so to speak, it takes a lot out of you. It's a toll. So, we were talking in the capacity of just being friends. With that being said, there was times where like he would abruptly get off the phone. And I'm like, "What's going on?" I was helping him with the money because, like the whole Cash App thing, because they can't get access, or, they give them absolutely nothing in Shirley Max. Like people that come up there from the medium, they're like, "What do you mean I don't have this on like the what do they call
The
it?
canteen
They,
sheet
thank
or
you. The
the
canteen.
kiosk or
Yeah,
however
the
they do it now.
the canteen, and it's like they can't get anything. They can't even get sugar, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, with which comes to your brother, because it's important.
It is.
It's
Yep.
something they're not supposed to have, but it's something that they possibly need in an emergency, and he has no access to it because of dumb shit up there. But so him and I were talking as in a capacity of friends, you know, when he had made the statement that he was living off the land, and I had a problem with that. So I started helping him. But as I'm helping him more, we're talking more, you know, we're getting in conversation, he would abruptly get off the phone. And I'm like, are you using? Because if you are, I'm not going to send you money. You know what I mean? I didn't even support my own drug habit. I'm not supporting somebody else's.
Right.
And that's when he broke down, like literally broke down and told me what was going on with him medically. So then it opened up a can of worms because I have a soft spot for that. I really do.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, not that he's a child, but it reminded me of advocating for my child. They need a voice because they're behind there and they're literally confined. To get up there and have a visit, which we have a breakthrough. You know, we got one of his lifelong friends to go up there. At first he got denied, but he hasn't been in trouble or with the law in over 11 years.
Yeah.
And I wrote, you know, we had written a letter strategically, kind of assassinating the superintendent of there because, you know, he got arrested for drunk driving, you know, and the first thing out of his mouth was that he was a DOC employee. And that's where their complacent comes in. They're complacent.
Yeah,
They've been allowed to get away with this for so long. So if I can help Chad and you can help JoJo, just imagine how many people else we can help just by helping them too.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's not just me wanting to, of course I want to help Chad, I love him. Do you know what I mean? But it goes further than Chad, and it's going to go further than JoJo because there's guys in there that don't have advocates like us. You know what I mean? Or somebody to put a fresh set of eyes on this. And it's just not right.
Not at all.
It's really not. It's like, who are these people to say who can and can't receive medical care?
Yeah.
You know, and then the medical care that they're providing, because Vital Core has only been with the DOC since May of 2024.
Okay, so
they picked up after WellPath was doing.
Okay, so for the people that may not know, because I wasn't really aware until we started talking. I guess talk about Vital Core. What is it? What's their role with the Department of Correction?
Okay, they're the medical. They're the medical providers. They're contracted medical providers. They're contracted from the Department of Correction.
Okay.
They're private. They're not like Mass General. They're not affiliated with anything in Boston. They're a private medical contractor. And they're in other states. And in other states, they're actually in court for exactly what they're doing to the inmates here in Massachusetts. But the inmates here in Massachusetts don't have a voice. And that's where I want to step in. If I can be the voice for one person, hopefully it creates that domino effect, because that's what we need. Because think about it, right? Not only are they being medically neglected, but Vital Core is charging the state of Massachusetts for services that they're not rendering. So they're spending taxpayer dollars, right, for services that they're not rendering. So they're stealing money from the taxpayer. Absolutely. I have a problem with that, and I'm not a taxpayer.
Absolutely.
You know? Because they're taken from other entities that they could be putting better use to.
Absolutely.
You know, they could be putting that money back into the school system. And maybe these kids wouldn't end up incarcerated and need to be in Vital Core's care.
Absolutely.
There's ways of preventing things. And then, you know, state senators are turning a blind eye. I wrote to the Attorney General's office, gave them factual proof of what Vital Core is doing, the medical negligence, the medical, that they're saying that they're doing these medical assessments or caring for these inmates, and they're not. And the Attorney General's office turned a blind eye. So they're all in cahoots with each other. So the only way we're ever going to make a change is by allowing the public to know what's going on, because public scrutiny is the worst thing for somebody in the Senate. It's the worst thing for an Attorney General, because once you put them on, the hot seat, that's the only way they're going to move and do things.
That's for sure.
Because I've been putting them on the hot seat, but through email and through letters and through advocating for Chad. But I'm one voice.
That's it.
And there's only power in numbers. But of course, if we put them on the hot seat and people start asking, what do you mean Vital Core is getting paid for services they're not rendering? Just like as if it was somebody at the Mass General. If they had medical neglect, or you were getting that medical neglect, wouldn't you want someone to help
Absolutely.
advocate for you? Or would you want that something to happen to that doctor? Well, nothing's going to happen unless we speak about it.
And it's, like you said, at least, our people have us, and so many guys in there and women in wherever they're at, Framingham, don't have anybody. So we got to be the voice. So how long has it been like that the Massachusetts Department of Corrections has been using Vital Core? Or like, what was it before?
Before them, it was WellPath, and they were just as bad.
And
that's
the same
why
thing, a private?
Yep, it's a private contractor. Yep,
Okay.
so they find these private, which doesn't make any sense because you have affiliates here, and it's at the point where we need to be able to get specialists because Vital Core doesn't want outside doctors coming in, because if outside doctors come in and see the medical negligence over the years, guess what's going to happen?
Right.
So they do everything and anything to pacify you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not somebody that's pacified easily. I have the word tattooed on my arm. It says defiant. Because if you tell me no, I want to know why it's no.
Yeah.
Don't just say no and not give me a reason. I've used that even in being a parent, because I know when my parents said no, I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Because then what happens is you get curiosity killed the cat. You get curious as to why your parents are saying no, and you go do things that are stupid and find out why they said no, but you find out the hard way, And with them, it's like, that's what they're doing. They're cutting JoJo and they're cutting Chad off from the outside world.
Yeah.
And they're just, in their medical documents, they give you like the roundabout. So they did have an outside provided because Chad was sent out to the hospital for his stomach problem this past March.
So let's rewind it, right? When did Chad start having problems
2016.
with the medical? Was
2016.
Okay.
Long before I came about.
So was this like a pre-existing condition that came in, or like was it something that he got in there, or like what?
The only pre-existing condition that he had was asthma as a child. But when he was down, I believe it was in Walpole, he came in contact with black mold and he had a lung.
Wow.
Yeah, he got, it's in his documents because I got his WellPath medical records before they try to shut me off, because the reason why they're trying to shut me off is because I realized what was going on.
Wow. So when you talked to Chad eventually and then you stopped finding all this out, like what was he telling you about the process of how he was trying to deal with it on the inside? And like, I'm sure it was probably fruitless, how it is in there.
Like the sick call slips. It was like, he tried, they're supposed to have a 5-day turnaround. Well, 5 days turns into 500 days. But because he had nobody on the outside looking after him, they just were giving him the roundabout to the point that he was writing on sick call slips. Hello?
Yeah.
Can I get my medicine? Can I get this? And it's like they didn't care because he had nobody else. So they almost need an advocate on the outside to get either their medical records or to write to them, because at one point he had an asthma attack. And shortly after that, he was without an inhaler, which bothers me. It brings me almost to tears. He was without an inhaler for almost 60 days.
Wow.
60 days. That's way too long. The fact that this kid is surviving it proves to me that he can get better as he get the right care on the outside.
Yeah.
Because he's surviving through medical neglect. So his body has a way of rejuvenating itself. But just like the rest of us, some of us need medicine. We need help.
It just sucks because, especially like being in there, it's almost like you got to be like a pain in the ass just to like get basic medical care. But it's like some guys really just, they want to come in. They don't want to be a pain in the ass to administrate. They just want to do their time or something.
Or they don't know how to be a pain in the ass. They don't know the right things to say or the right...
Or at least the right way. We know, like, flooding out and... You know what I mean? Like, at least the right way to go about it, too. So.
They don't know who to ask, either, because every time you turn around, there's another department and there's another reason for that department. Like, for them to get, like, their tablets or whatever, it goes to a different department. Or if they ask for a sick call slip, the caseworkers that come down, we don't do that anymore. There's no notification. They don't get told where to go, what to do. So that's just another loop around. It's almost like an infinity sign. It goes round and around. And it's like, when is it going to stop? Every time that they have to be held accountable for something, their policy changes. Their policy. It really doesn't. It's just whoever feels like saying something at that moment.
Wow.
And it's like, I'll be on the phone, even though he's not supposed to be. He does it so I can hear it. I'll be on the phone when the nurses are saying, I can't believe this is going on. So people that work for Vital Corps know the injustice, but if they open their mouths, they don't have a job. So what are they going to do? They're going to self-preserve. But what happened to the oath they took?
No.
Being a doctor or being a nurse. You're not supposed to have any bias to anybody. Yeah. So if you're a nurse and you see somebody being medically neglected, why don't you bring it to somebody's attention? And then if you get fired, there's going to be people behind you,
Right.
you know what I mean, saying they shouldn't have gotten fired.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Stop being so fearful. Stand up for what's right. I'm sorry, that's how I feel.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And when you see something going on that's wrong, according to what they're supposed to be doing, it's part of your job description to give health care to somebody.
Damn.
And when you don't, that's where it loops around back into your fraud in the system.
Damn. Wow. So when these problems with the Department of Corrections started medically for Chad, right? I guess, where was he at the time? What facility is this from? Has it changed? Has it gotten better, worse from different facilities? Has he?
He's pretty much done most of his time at
Sousa?
SBC, yeah,
Okay.
at Sousa.
Sousa
And
better.
because of his classification, he can't get classed down to a medium.
Wow.
So no matter what I say, no matter what I do, because even the facility as itself should be condemned.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have open windows, so which means they depend on a ventilation system. The ventilation system hasn't been cleaned probably since the building opened in the 90s. And on top of it, there's documented through the Department of Health, they do an inspection every year. And actually, before this, they had 796 deficiencies.
Wow.
And out of those 796 of them, 425 of them are repeat, which means that every single year that the Department of Health goes in there, it's the same issue over and over. So I actually wrote to them, I wrote a letter, and I had asked them, like, what do you do about your mold? We know what they do. They have the inmate go in there with a bottle of bleach. That's not going to get rid of it because now it's in the ventilation system. Mold is airborne. It's a substance that sticks to a wall, but it's airborne. And once you irritate it, and it's airborne even more. So just think about that facility. Right. Yeah. So even if they maintain it from one isolated situation, it's already airborne. So now it's in a ventilation system where they have no vents. They have no open windows. They haven't been in the yard. I don't know about JoJo because I know that Chad just got up to that block, but Chad's been outside in the yard 3 times in a year.
Yeah,
you don't have a problem with that?
Yeah, that's insane. No,
insane.
No vitamin D, no fresh. I mean, the fresh air alone too, but the sunlight.
But think about, they have mental health up there. Talk about creating like a ticking time bomb.
Right.
You're keeping these guys. All right, they're incarcerated, but they should still be outside.
Right.
And the reason why they're constantly not allowed, because it'll be scheduled and it gets canceled, is because they're constantly modified. But don't you know they're not modified on a holiday?
Right. And you mean modified lockdown?
No, modified meaning that they don't have enough COs to inmates to be able to take them outside in the yard.
I mean, which I don't understand that because, Concord closed down. Where did those COs go? I mean, is Walpole closed down too, I believe?
I think so.
Where, how? How are there not enough staff?
Everybody's always on vacation, including the superintendent. So,
jeez.
How do you have a job that you're never at?
Yeah.
And obviously you can't get in touch with them. Nope. And it's sometimes when I don't hear from Chad, of course I get nervous, and I don't run to the phone. But then if there's been the day that he had his medical issue, that's a whole other thing that I hope that we can get into because not only is Vital Corps medically neglecting the inmates, but they falsified documents, and I have solid proof.
Wow.
Solid proof.
So let's start with that. When you first start finding out about the medical neglect, it's almost in hindsight, right? You said he's been dealing with it for some time. What did you start? Did you start trying to advocate for him and correct it then, or did time go on and more stuff happen, or I guess?
No, as soon as I started to correct it, what I was trying to do was trying to find a way to maybe get him reclassified, to at least get him out of that facility, and then do more, because other facilities don't have the bias and the bureaucratic bullshit up there. It's because they're a maximum security. So they have life is up there.
The only max now.
Yes, it's the only one. but they have life is up there that people just, they think that, you know, society's forgetting about them or that their family's forgetting about them. And unfortunately, that's true in many circumstances. Do you know what I mean? So they're allowed to get away with their neglect and their nonsense and everything else that they do. They do a lot of shit. It's not just medical neglect, the bullshit. To the point, like, Chad and I will be on the phone and we'll just be having shoot the shit conversation. The second that we start talking about stuff like this, he can't hear me.
Wow.
So then I start going crazy. I'm like, and I called him a fat fuck because that's all I can picture is this you know, this corrections officer, this fat blimpo, because they do nothing.
Right.
They really do nothing. They don't do anything. What are you correcting as a corrections officer when you don't do your job? But that's besides the point. You know, I mean, they have their what do they have?
Maintenance?
No.
Union?
They're part of a union. So of course they're going to sit on their asses and do nothing unless they get in trouble for something, and then the union's going to step in.
And I know we all, you know, everybody loves unions out here and all that stuff. But I feel like, I mean, the fact that they have such a strong union behind them almost incentivizes them to poor behavior, act badly, not give a shit. I mean,
of course,
of
course. But that's what it gets down to. Like I was saying with the phone, I literally, it's almost like they have a mute button, and I start talking shit instantly. I'm like, what's the matter? Did your blister on your finger? Oh, it must have healed. Did you want to get that blister again?
Right.
And miraculously, the phone comes back. We get to talk to each other. Wow. But nobody would believe this. Like, if somebody told me this, I'd be like, nah, you're full of shit. But it's the God honest truth. You know, we experience it all the time. The second that we start talking about stuff on the phone, it gets disconnected. Wow. The only time that we don't get really disconnected or they start, you know, so to speak, messing with us on the phone is when he's on the landline because they can't. Yeah. But with the tablet phone, it's crazy. I mean, we know they're listening. Yeah. And there's certain things that we talk about. You know what I mean? But and there's certain things that we will not talk about. You know what I mean? We just have this understanding. It's almost like, you know, we have telepathy with each other. Seriously, you have to. Because you can't let them know what's going on. Because if you do, they try to step right in and protect themselves. They literally falsify documents. It's insane.
So talk about that. I guess walk me through the process of you finding out about the falsifying documents. What's going on there? What happened?
All right. So Chad's been having issues with his asthma, and it's been exacerbated by him being moved around a lot, or by them not being able to get out on the yard. It goes even so far as when the unit itself is locked down, there's no medical care. And that's a problem because that's an institutional barrier that people with medical issues shouldn't have. So if they're locked in for whatever, because there's institutional, if there was a fight, they're on lockdown for 3 days. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's understandable because you're in that environment. I mean, you're harboring anger. And it's not something that they should do. But on top of it, for somebody like Chad and somebody like JoJo, so if they're locked in, because an institutional fight, they're not getting medical care. Yep. So he was having asthma issues anyway. And then there was one Saturday, it was October 25th to be exact, and I had talked to him at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the phones go off from 11 to 12. They shut the phones off so they can do chow, just so there's no, because they don't have a chow hall anymore. Yeah. They get, their food trays sent to the block, and they eat on the block. Now, some of them will be during rec, and some of them eat in their cells. It's a personal choice. Right. But so I hadn't heard from him, and time's going on, and now I'm calling. Yeah. I'm calling up there because now it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The phones are on, and they're answering the phone. Oh yeah, he's in his cell relaxing, and I'm like, if he was in his cell relaxing, he's got his tablet phone. He'd be on the phone with me. Right. I'm literally, and they know that's true because I put it in one of my letters that they can't give me no bullshit anymore. I'm literally on the phone with Chad 6 to 11 hours a day to make sure that he gets taken care of and to make sure nothing bullshit, because they've already pulled shit on him, and that's why he's sitting where he's sitting. Yeah. And I'm not going to be the one because of, you can tell my voice from a mile away. Either that or I could laugh and somebody will know it's me. I just sit that distinct. And that's why, I don't want to be on the phone all day long. Chad knows what society is like just from being on the phone with me, but I know what the innards of SBCC is from being on the phone with him. But that's why I do it.
So what kind? So talk about those documents.
Yeah,
though. How,
but that's
how
what
did
I'm
you-
getting at.
how did
He
you figure
didn't.
that out?
He didn't call, and so I'm calling up there, and they're telling me all this bullshit.
Yeah,
Trying to tell me, oh, he's getting meds right now. Well, at 9:00 at night, and actually, Maddie and I were on the phone with Chad when he called at 9:00 that night. So Maddie experienced this with me, because I said, Maddie, I know that there's something wrong. Maddie's like, yeah, Danielle, you're just too much,
Right.
And he experienced it. Chad had suffered from a medical issue, and they attested it to a drug overdose, which he didn't have anything in his system. But so on the 25th this happened, he had his medical issue. Well, that Monday was the 27th, and I had requested to Vital Core's records keeper that I get his medical records, and I did. I got them on the 27th. So I had the medical records from the beginning of October till October 27th. Well, then I got the rest of the months, sent to me at the end of October, because that's what I've been doing. I've been getting month to month so I can keep track of what they did and didn't do according to his sick call slip, so on and so forth. So I get the ones for the entire month, and I'm looking through them, and I'm like, something's not right. I didn't remember seeing this.
Right.
That's wrong. So I'm looking, so I opened the ones that I received on the 27th, and then I opened the ones that I received on the 4th of November. And there's a document that wasn't there on the 27th, but this document says that it was created for the 23rd.
Wow.
That's when Chad had an interaction with somebody there through their mental health, saying that he had admitted to taking Klonopin, and he was remorseful because it led to him being part of an overdose suspicion. Okay, but wait a minute, let's back up, right? His medical issue, which they're testing to an overdose, happened on October 25th.
Right.
How did he admit to taking Klonopins that led to his overdose on October 23rd?
Right.
What does he have, a crystal ball? Because if he does, give it to me, because
Right.
I'd like to play the lottery.
No shit.
Do you know what I'm saying? So they fucked up royally, because they did call for a medical code on the 23rd, but that was because he was having trouble breathing. So when they had the medical code called on the 25th, when he was found unresponsive in his cell because he had an asthma attack, they must have said to this guy that went in, and I know his name, if you want me to say it, I will. I have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
His name's Theodore Merkel, and he works for Vital Core. They must have said to him, go in and say that you had an interaction with Chad and that he's remorseful for his falling out. So the guy must have went into the system and saw the medical code called, because it was called the 23rd and the 25th, and it just went to the first one. So he lied.
Wow.
They're saying that Chad had an overdose of Klonopins on the 23rd when he wasn't found unresponsive until the 25th. It's chronologically impossible for him to be remorseful for taking Klonopins 2 days before his actual incident happened.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And then to go further,
Why do you think that
because
were
they don't
doing
want to
that?
take responsibility for Chad's medical problems, because he had an asthma attack, and everything prior to that led up to that asthma attack, and they don't want to take responsibility. Just like with these 5 deaths, from what I hear, there's 2 of them that they're not talking about because they were found to be suicides. So now they do have deaths within the DOC, which they don't like to take responsibility for.
Yeah.
Miraculously, everybody that dies within the DOC care dies at the hospital. Bullshit.
That's insane.
They die at SBCC, but they don't want to take responsibility for it.
Wow.
So now there's 2 other deaths that they're not letting out because they were suicides, which means that those 2 deaths happened within the facility and they died on the facility's property.
Wow.
They don't want to take responsibility for it.
Damn. So when you notice this falsifying of documents, like what's the next move for you then? I mean, you're like, how do you react to that? How do you respond? Do you try to get in contact with them or what?
Well, I don't want to let them know about it right away.
Okay.
I want to get them to do what they're supposed to do for Chad, and that's why I write. You saw the letters.
Yeah.
I'm on letter number 7 with just the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Clinical Services, which I assassinated with my words. And it not so much in a kind way, but it's my way of using an educated way of being an asshole is what I attested to. It's the truth, because what I want to know his credentials. What if he's not a doctor? right? Or he has no medical history background, then why is he the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Clinical Services? What gives him the right to be in that position?
Who does he know? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, whose knees is he getting on for? I mean, let's be real.
No shit, I didn't want to say that.
I'll say it. I don't fear the DOC, and
No
that's
doubt.
that's where they're wrong. And I've told them many times, you keep giving me your scripted replies because that's what they are. I've got letters from them that there's little things that are changed.
Yeah.
Overall, they just shooting off these letters to people that do advocate for somebody. A lot of people will take that, but me knowing and talking to Chad as much as I do on a daily basis, knowing that they're not taking care of him, then when I get his medical records, this document right here goes back to just 2018. And it's the medical negligence, and and what I did is that you can see it's medical negligence, the harm that it caused, and then if you keep going through it, it shows just how many times that institutional barriers come into play. So he didn't get his medical, or he didn't get sent out to doctor's appointments because the facility was on lockdown. That's a problem.
Yeah, and this dates back to
that's just
that dates back to
2018.
2018.
Yep.
So I mean
that goes
about
through
7 years
WellPath,
now.
and then Vital Core steps in. It's just like buying a used car. You take on somebody else's headache. Well, they should do their due diligence with somebody like Chad and figure out what WellPath didn't do for them that led up to him being so medically neglected, and step in and take over, and they don't.
Damn.
Like right now, they're not giving him his boost strength because he lost 40 pounds within like 4 months.
Wow.
This isn't recent.
So it's just something
This
as
is-
simple as just getting the boost drink.
because he weighs 168. He's 6 feet tall.
Wow.
He's not, I mean, he's not as skinny as a rail, but he's not where he should be, historically throughout time, what he always weighed. But somebody went in and put that he weighed 186 instead of 168. So within a 4-day period, he would have to intake 56,000 calories to gain that much weight in those 4 days. But now Vital Core took away his boost strength because they're looking at 186 as his weight, which to them is according to his height and weight is average.
Okay.
But he doesn't weigh 186.
Right,
He weighs 168. So because somebody didn't do their job right and they transposed them, now he's not getting his boost strength. I mean, think about it. 4 days, he gains 19 pounds. Come on.
I mean.
But they take it at face value.
So talk about how does he get on this boost drink anyway in the first place, right? How does that happen? How long was he getting the boost beforehand?
It took him 9 months to get it. He started getting it in February, and now here we are in December, and they cut him off because somebody put the weight in wrong.
Okay.
But do you see somebody's mistake, he suffers for.
So when he goes to put one day he goes to get his drink, he doesn't get it. What does he have to do? He puts in a sick call slip. Like, what's the whole process?
He's put a sick call slip every single day. That's just something I said to him. He's like, well, it doesn't work like that. I'm sick and tired of you following DOC procedure. Just because they say you can't put a sick call slip in until it's attended to, but it's never attended to. So he literally, he every single day, he puts a sick call slip in for his asthma medication that he doesn't get. Like just recently, he was without his medication for 3 days because somebody failed to put the order in through the pharmacy. I mean, it's neglect, and it's just incompetency. And the reason why they're so incompetent because they've been getting away with it for so long.
Yeah.
There's nobody calling them on their shit. So I can't imagine what JoJo goes through.
Yeah.
I know just from Chad telling me that your brother had an incident at 3 o'clock in the morning and he was banging on his cell door because his sugar was low and because he doesn't have access to emergency sugar tablets because they're afraid that somebody's going to make alcohol out of them. Yeah. If your brother has never been charged with or accused of making alcohol, then he should be able to get access to those sugar pills. Why should he have to suffer physically, mentally, and emotionally because some other asshole makes alcohol? Absolutely. Your brother had to beg a CO. Thankfully, he had a CO that was willing to do it. He got jelly at 3 in the morning. Thank God for jelly, but that's not the way to handle it.
Right, exactly.
He needs medical care.
Yeah, and there's been times too where his medication is not distributed on a timely manner, which is big.
And it's not his time, and it's not their time. It's the diabetes time. That's what's going to delegate when he gets his medicine.
Right.
The only thing that it should be on a time thing is his 24-hour long-acting insulin, because he probably, being a type 1, you get long acting, which is 24 to 26 hours, and then you get your short acting, which is either Humalog or Novolog. I'm not sure which one they have him on, but that's the one that he would take to correct a high blood sugar, but that's also the one that he takes when they eat.
Wow.
Their chow time is whenever they feel like giving them, their food. And that's a problem for me, because somebody in his instance, it's not even on his time. He can't tell his body how to regulate what he's taking in. And he doesn't need a special diet, but he also needs a better diet than what they're giving them.
Yeah. So where are you at now as far as trying to get at least something simple as far as like the boost and the medication? Has it been ordered? Is he back on that now, or what are they saying?
Yeah,
are they
only
still
because
waiting
I
for
write
it?
a letter. But if it was up to them, they wouldn't do anything. They allow like the pharmacy or whatever. But this day and age with computers the way they are, like I have stuff that goes through CVS, right? And CVS, I get automated text messages. They're on automatic. Why doesn't the DOC or VitalCore have the same? They make a ton of money.
Right.
There was I think it's a $700 million contract over 5 years that VitalCore got. Don't tell me that they can't go out and buy the program that automatically reorders medication that somebody like Chad or like JoJo has a standing order for.
Right.
He's never going to be off insulin. Chad's probably never going to be off albuterol.
Right,
Why does somebody have to manually or physically go into the system and make a pharmacy order?
Yeah.
Even with their
Especially too with AI now, all that could be done.
There's systems that are out there that it would automatically just generate a reorder with the pharmacy. Yeah. I don't know who the pharmacy is or what pharmacy they use. I don't even get that far, because I get barricaded just trying to get them to do their job. It's like I'm not going to go even further and go and say, well, the pharmacy's not doing it, because I know I get emails from CVS saying your prescription's out. You might want to contact your provider. So there's technology out there this day and age, and they're not assuming that technology for them. And that's just another, because they're pocketing the money. They don't want to spend the money getting that, but then people are suffering for it. Damn. And it goes above and beyond this. There's constitutional rights. I mean, think about where we live. It's Boston, right? The Bill of Rights were established here. So the 8th Amendment is part of the original 10 Bill of Rights. It's something that
Okay, I might have skipped history class. What's the 8th Amendment? I guess explain that to me and to my audience what the 8th Amendment is. And
it's cruel and intentional, but that nobody should suffer from cruel and intentional punishment, which the medical falls under.
Gotcha.
So every time that they're medically neglected, or somebody turns a blind eye, like me bringing all this negligence to their attention and them not doing anything about it, they're literally violating their 8th Amendment to the Constitution.
Okay, gotcha.
Who is any man to go against that?
So walk me through the process of, like, something happens, Chad puts in a sick call slip, now nothing's happening. Who do you contact first? Do you try to get in contact with, like, the director of medical or the sheriff, or what, you know what I mean, the commissioner? I guess walk me through it.
I don't start at a lower level. I find the person that can handle this. It's not like I go through the secretaries. That's just taking time. And time is of the essence when you're handling medical things. So her name's Mary Beth Leese. Okay. She is the head of VitalCore, but she answers to the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Clinical Services. His name's Jeffrey Fisher. Okay. So I've gotten to her, asking her why hasn't he been sent off for his colonoscopy, or just, in fact, when he wasn't getting his asthma medication, I was getting to her. Well, she doesn't want to deal with it because she's just as stupid as them. But and I even say it to her in one of my emails. I tried to start with a level of you, but you wanted to pass me off to your higher up. Right. And then your higher up gives me the runaround. Right. Oh, rest assured that he's being medically taken care of. Bullshit. No, he's not. Right. So it got to the point where, they're sending me their policy and procedure. Well, I'm going to send you Massachusetts state law and federal laws that you're violating. There's no immunity for ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what kind of pushback do they tend to, like, what does the pushback look like from them as far as that goes? What are the replies like? What are they saying to you? Are they just lying?
You can put your eyes on it yourself. You can put your eyes on it yourself. This is the latest one that I got.
Which one is this?
This is from the department, that's from the assistant deputy commissioner, and that's directly related to
Okay.
medical.
So it says the power of attorney documentation you provide does not allow me to provide you with this confidential protected information. Mr. Connors must grant permission via the completion of a release form in order for you to receive his healthcare information. So, I mean, I guess walk me through that. How were you able to get like his health care stuff? And
But
all
that's
of
the
that?
thing, I wrote a letter stating that I'm now the power of attorney, and within this, it's documented that we've worded his power of attorney to override DOC needed release forms because I'm not incarcerated.
Right.
Okay.
What is the point of the release forms? Is it like, are they just trying to buy more time? It seems like it's all a runaround procrastination kind of thing and trying to get people to quit.
Exactly. It's their way of, like I said, trying to pacify you. Oh, rest assured. Oh, these aren't, executed properly. They're not filled out properly. But I mean, I have copies of them. They were done, and then the last one that I got, when I called them on their shit, they were like, "Oh, it's expired," because I put the word indefinitely on their form, and they're like, "Oh, it expires within 60 days." Okay, so, but then if you require him to get another form signed, then provide him with the witness and the person that's supposed to help him execute them so he can get them done. Then they stop sending people down.
No.
Do you know what I mean? They have a notary public who's the librarian, and they purposely, if you request the librarian, they purposely do not send her to that block because they know that she needs a legal document. I mean, they have the what is it, the LexisNexis or whatever for all legal stuff. So you feed these guys all this legal information, they figure out that you're breaking the law. They want to do something about it, but you put barriers in their way. They can't get anywhere. It's like literally hitting a brick wall time after time. They're already up there doing time. Do you think that they want to continue to do this?
Right.
Because as far as their mind goes, their life is ended anyway. They get to the point, it's like, what the fuck do I care? I'm going to die here anyway. But that's not the mentality that anybody should have. Because, there's going to be certain circumstances. I mean, you had that guy on there, he was doing life and he got put out on parole. It's because somebody realized that he was there for the wrong reason. These lifers don't know that. Look at, they got changed, that law just got changed where, kids that got put in before 21, there's no life sentence for them. So there's things that should change. So these guys shouldn't have it in their head that they're there for life. Unless they, did something real disgusting, that they'll never have the possibility. But there's always a possibility for change. You don't know. They should really close down SBCC and put all those other guys in different facilities. Even if you are a lifer. If you're on a life sentence, you shouldn't have to be miserable on that life sentence. I'm not saying they should be happy-go-lucky and walk around with Kool-Aid smiles. But at the same time, they shouldn't suffer while they're there. I think being incarcerated or doing something that that took you out of character, or being wrong place, wrong time, or doing something that any institutional person would have done to begin with, and being held accountable for something that you did or didn't do, and then to be held there and then to not be taken care of, that's the biggest issue that I have.
Insane. So you had mentioned earlier about going to like an outside hospital too. So talk a little bit about like what that.
I wouldn't let my dog go to the Shattuck.
I was just gonna say what that care is like. I know about the Shattuck. I actually had to go. I had a
Have you ever driven by there?
I went when I was in Concord. I had a small surgery, a little
so
polyp
you know
or whatever
firsthand.
removed. But yeah,
but
I guess you seem to be more knowledgeable about that. I think it was a lot of students work there. I'm not sure.
No,
but
there's just no funding there.
At the Shattuck?
Yeah, so you get the doctor that probably had medical negligence or medical malpractice at another facility, so they go hide at the Shattuck and still collect a paycheck. They're not 100% affiliated with the DOC, but think about it, like, I don't like going to the doctors. And we have the best health care in the world. It's just because I have to deal with my kids and their ailments. By the time I get to me, I'm like, I'm exhausted, But have you ever driven by the Shattuck? Anybody that drives by there, it's like morbid. The building itself is just morbid, And it's like, and then they're handcuffed and shackled all day long. You know, and it's an all-day event. They get taken out at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're handcuffed and shackled. They're taken there, and then the doctor will see them whenever they feel like it.
they got actual cells there too. They're like holding cells there when I was there, too, which was crazy.
Because they don't get the funding. They don't have the state funding because they don't have. It's like when they build these new buildings. So if there's 100 buildings, 30% of them have to be low income in order for them to get federal funding. Well, with the Shattuck, they have to have so many success stories or, you know, not so many medical negligence or malpractice things, and then they'll get federal funding. Obviously, they don't get that.
Absolutely.
So they're dependent on state funding, which Vital Claw is draining the system, so they're not getting it. No, that's not the truth, but, I mean, it's just a roundabout.
And you had mentioned trying to get him to an outside hospital for a visit in not the Shattuck because of what?
I specifically asked for that because of their medical history, their negligence in the history
it's well
of
documented,
it.
right?
And it's not even that. I made a couple phone calls, and we got him because he has a lower leg edema. And anybody, I mean, his lawyer went up there and saw his leg and was like taken back by it. So how the fact that these doctors put eyes on this and they're like, it's okay.
So what do you mean? Is it swollen? I don't. What do you mean?
Yeah, yep. So he has lesions on the outside of it. It's swollen. It's, you know, they gave. I had told him to request a compression sock, which now they give him, but that's just a Band-Aid. There's a reason why, and if you know medical and you read his history, it has to do with circulation. So if he's not getting the proper amount of oxygen circulated through his body, just like with JoJo, and I know this from my daughter because before my daughter got diagnosed with the diabetes, before they figured out what was going on, her hair wasn't growing, her fingernails wasn't growing. So your body mechanically is only going to take care of the core. It's going to take care of your vitals. So that's why a lot of people with diabetes have lower leg, you know, they have lower leg issues. The body will neglect something that it doesn't need. You can live without your toes. You can live without your fingers.
Like frostbite it, like
exactly. It, you know, the body has a way of rejuvenating itself once it gets the help that it needs. So once she got the medicine, just you know, having the insulin, her hair started to grow, her fingernails started to grow. But while her body was suffering, it tends to take care of just your core. It's going to take care of your vital organs before it takes care of your feet. So from him just not having circulation properly, it's creating this lower leg edema. And the reason why it's, you know, just to one leg is because he was part of that 2020 and they beat the shit out of his leg to the point that 17 months later he was having surgery on it. So he has issues with that.
The corrections officers? What do you mean? Who
They just did the whole class action lawsuit during the beginning of 2020. They were on lockdown, and I'm sure it had to do something with, you know, the reason why they thought that they could get away with it is because we were during COVID and the whole world was shut down.
Yeah.
They shut the phones off. They shut the facility down, no visitors in and out, and they were saying it was because of COVID. And they literally went in there like Gestapo.
Yeah, wow.
And they you know, it started with an inmate fight with the corrections officers, but then they come in there, you know, like with the troops, and they had dogs biting guys, and then they have what they call the nailing. They just did the class action lawsuit just got settled. They settled for $6.75 million. There was 150 inmates that were part of the class action lawsuit. Wow. And then there was, I think, 23 or 24 guys that were part of what they called the nailing. They were naked, handcuffed and shackled, and forced to nail for over 8 hours. Wow. No food, no bathroom use, no nothing, no showers for 3 weeks. Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
Yeah. So what happens to what happens to the COs when this happens? Are they punished? Do they get suspended?
I don't
fired,
know. I don't know what happened to them.
Criminally charged? I doubt it was.
I wasn't talking to Chad at the time. I just know that, you know, he's getting along with a lot of inmates. But that's the other thing too. You have to think about. A lot of the inmates don't have an outside source. So I'm his power of attorney. So the money that he's getting will come to me and it will go into an account for whatever he needs. But it's not going to go into a DOC account. Because think about it. These guys are getting $35,000. The DOC is going to have control over that money with them.
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Yeah,
that's not fair.
Hitting you with BS piss test or something to charge it.
They're going to make a reason. They're going to try to recoup their money somehow.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I was going through some of this paperwork. We had seen something happen on the wrong leg, right?
That's what I'm talking about with the Shattuck, and that's why I don't want him taken there.
Okay, so
because it's clear and obvious he doesn't have any issue with the upper leg. he has an issue with from the knee below. And when they did the ultrasound on his leg, they did the ultrasound on the top leg. Hello,
insane.
that was just their way of pacifying people. Or pacifying the criteria or whatever the system needs or whatever the documentation needs, stating that he was sent to the Shattuck and he did have an ultrasound done on his leg. And that's sufficient enough for people to say, well, they got taken care of. No, they didn't.
Wow.
They did the ultrasound on the top part of his leg. Anybody that looks at his leg knows that he doesn't have the problem there. Wow. The problem is the lower leg.
Okay.
So yes, they sent him out. Yes, they did get a medical attention. Yes, they did have an ultrasound done on his leg to find out what was going on, but they ordered it for the wrong part of his leg.
Wow.
I mean, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I just don't understand how they're able to get away with this and just...
Because nobody says anything about it.
I feel like people like that should be held to higher standards, you know what I mean? So.
And that's why I told the assistant director of the clinical services that I will be holding him, because that's the thing. There are class action suits, not class action, I'm sorry, civil suits against the superintendent. Right now, the superintendent, who's Stephen Kennedy, who's SBCC, was the superintendent at other places, Old Colony.
Wow.
And he's got many civil suits for the same reason against him, but they go by immunity. They think because that they have this complacentness that they're going to hide behind their title. You cannot hide behind your title when you're one human being told that another human is suffering because you are not doing what you're supposed to do. There's no title that can protect you from that.
Yeah.
But that's what they've been allowed to get away with for so long.
Insane. So you had mentioned about like the blood circulation, oxygen circulation. Is it, how can that be improved? Is it about getting more fresh air? Is it more exercise, or like what are some ways?
Well, Chad can hardly exercise, because imagine trying to exercise while someone's strangling you. Well, you feel like you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Do you think he wants to exercise?
Yeah,
He does limited, like even in
asthma.
this cold weather, when they do get to go out on the rec deck, which if anybody knows what a rec deck is, it's a square box that you pretty much get wind or whatever from the side. They don't get out in the it's not open. Yes, it's outside, but not outside like the yard. It's not the same, and he'll go out there in the freezing cold, and this kid can breathe.
No.
It's the second that he goes not, so then he'll go into like the regular, the population area, and he's okay. When he goes into we don't call it a cell, because Chad, talking to him, even though he's been incarcerated for 21 years, you would never know this kid he's not institutionalized. That's one good thing that he's been able to maintain.
That's good.
You know what I mean? But we call it his room. We don't call it his cell. It breaks my heart, because he shouldn't be there, period. But so we when he goes into his room and they shut the door, all of a sudden he's congested. He sounds like he has a head cold, like almost instantly, because now he's not even getting the circulation air. That's, not that it's better,
Right.
but it's not so confined to their cell. Think about it. They live in their bathroom.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I don't even have my toothbrush next to my toilet, because you flush it and shit particles are in the air.
Yeah.
And they're confined to that. So like just a couple of weeks ago, I had written a letter to them, because he was on a different block, and they had a plumbing problem, and they were on a lockdown. So they're all confined to their cells, and the toilets are overflowing in every cell, and he had 2 inches of shit water. That's not something anybody should have to live with, but he's got edemas and lesions on his leg that are open sores. So now he's predisposed to like MRSA and all that other stuff. But just shit particle, who wants, and then he's got a GI problem. So just really kill the kid.
Jeez.
Smelling someone else's shit would make me puke.
So is that something that developed too, like recently, the GI problem? Or is
The
that
GI problem was something that he developed over the years being incarcerated, yes. Because think about it, he's been incarcerated 21 years.
Right, so like what would lead to that? Is it just the poor quality of food, or like what kind of things would lead to that?
Well, let's go back to the Department of Public Health and their deficiencies. They have rodent feces throughout their whole kitchen, and then they don't have the proper storage. Now, I went to culinary school, so anything under 40 degrees, that needs to be refrigerated is considered safe. Anything between 40 and 70 is your danger zone, because that's where bacteria loves to live within that. And anything above that, heat-wise, could kill certain forms of bacteria. So that's critical. between like four and their refrigerators. And this isn't me making this up. This is stuff that I was able to, and this is all public. It's all on the internet. Dun, dun, dun. The internet is in my favor right now. But you can go on mass.gov, and that's where I found it. It's not mass.org. It's not mass.com.
Right.
It's mass.gov, and that's how you can legitimize where your information's coming from.
Wow.
Because if it says .gov, then it's a government-owned website. That's how you can differentiate. Because you put something into Google and you ask it, the first couple of ones are sponsored.
Yeah.
So of course those are going to be the
ads,
first ones. You need to look in further, and you need to do your due diligence, and you need to open your eyes. You can't just, especially when you're doing something like fighting the DOC or advocating for somebody with medical neglect. You have to do your research. You have to do what they're not doing. Do you know what I mean? You can't just take the first thing that pops up, because of course it's going to be what you want to hear.
No.
And I read these documents sometimes. Not only do I get frustrated, but I'm not an emotional person. Do you know what I mean? I'm a reactive person. Yes, my emotions, I am human.
Right.
But like with my kids, I had to separate my emotions, and I had to advocate for them, not just as their mother, but someone that could speak for them when they couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'm able to withdraw my emotion in the moment. But afterwards, that's when it hits me. You know, it's going to hit me now. It's just not right. You know, so I'm able to do all these powerful things and write these powerful letters and prove but at the end of the day, it's like, where's their empathy? How can you be so cold-hearted? I just don't understand it. And then go out into the world and act as though you're just, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. You know, I step on an ant, and at the end of the night, I'm like, I can't believe I killed that ant.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. I don't know how, some of them sleep at night. You know what I mean? So, I mean, talk about, like, if you were to narrow it down to, like, the biggest obstacle or biggest hurdle or biggest problem you've had with the DOC. Like, what do you think it would be?
Their ignorance.
Their ignorance? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
or
elaborate
their
a little
power
bit.
trip. I really don't know how to perceive it. I don't know whether they're just really stupid or really arrogant. Because in order to be arrogant, you have to have some intelligence, because you have to know what you're being arrogant about.
Right.
Or are they just that stupid? Or are they put in these positions that they're not qualified for, so they don't know it? But they just did a policy. They rewrote the policy, and I brought it to their attention. I tell them straight out, you write policies and procedures and you don't even follow them yourself. Why waste your time writing policy?
No.
Why waste your time writing procedure if you're not going to follow them? Who are they put there for? I'm not a TOC employee. So why do you write policies and procedures for yourself if you're not going to follow them?
No.
Every rule is meant to be broken, and there's exceptions to every rule. The only ones that are solid are the 10 Commandments. They're set in stone. And I understand that. But they don't do anything as far as follow their own policy and procedure. They don't tell a little white lie on it. They literally falsify documents and tell exorbitant lies. It's like you should work for Dr. Seuss, because the stories that you tell, you know what I mean, are just that asinine. They're that extravagant. Somebody has a medical problem. He has an asthma attack. And you turn it around and say it's a drug overdose. I mean, where is it? Yeah, Chad's a drug addict. Historically, is he now? No.
Right.
He's completed everything. He stays away from all that bullshit and nonsense, because we all know you can probably get better and more drugs in jail.
Right.
But he put all that shit down a long, long time ago. You know what I mean? Because he's 49 years old.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be bothered with that shit anymore. And plus, he's medically suffering, so he definitely doesn't want to be bothered with that shit. That's like playing Russian roulette. And he's been away from it for so long. And that's why I'm trying to help him as much as I can, because he did pull himself away from that drama and the nonsense. Yeah. It's like living on Channel 4 being incarcerated sometimes.
Crazy, yeah.
But it's also not a prison anymore. Prison's not prison. It's a mental institution.
Yeah.
It really is. And they do protect the pedo, and they do protect the mentally, clinically insane. You want to know why? Because they make a shit ton of money off of them from the pharmaceutical kickbacks. That's what it comes down to.
And
Let's be real here.
Half the people in charge are probably pedos too.
Half the people in charge are alcoholics and drug addicts themselves. They think they're better because they're DOC. Like if you were to look up the incident, I mean the docket's online superintendent, when he got pulled over by a state trooper at 3 o'clock in the morning. The state trooper had said to him that he could smell alcohol in his breath. And in the court document, it says right after he said that, well, I'm a DOC employee. Okay, well, does that mean you're an asshole too? Like, what does you being a DOC employee have to do with the fact that you have alcohol on your breath and you were caught speeding and now you're caught driving under the influence?
Right.
What does a DOC employee have to do with that?
That's because unpack that a little bit. Like, what's behind that thinking? That's because they been getting away. Why else would you? Why else would you say that unless you're expecting to get away with?
Yeah, but so it's like if you're a school teacher. Oh, I'm a school teacher, so all the more reason why you shouldn't be driving under the influence.
Exactly.
All the more reason why he shouldn't be driving under the influence. And not only was he driving under the influence, but he had his GOC issued firearm right next to him, not even concealed. Why is he allowed to bring his firearm home? Yeah. Shouldn't they be locked up in the facility?
Yeah.
But he's done that many times because he was actually put on probation within the facility. Not just this one, but this is when he was a corrections officer for leaving his GOC-issued firearm on the table outside of the bathroom. Wow. That, to me, being an recovering alcoholic, tells me that he's not of right sound mind all the time. He must be drinking on the job.
Jeez, if I don't put the right amount of friggin' hardener in my coating mixing at work, I'll probably get fired if it doesn't bond. And it's like,
but do you see what I'm saying? The complacentness of this, but he's been known to not take care of his firearm. So you're telling me that you're not going to be responsible for the firearm that they issue you. You're leaving it on a table outside the bathroom, which means you're going into the bathroom, shutting the door. What if somebody picks up that firearm? Exactly. Who's responsible for that? Wow. Not going to be him because he's a DOC employee. I mean, think about it.
I mean, it seems like too. It comes from the ineptitude and everything comes from the top down, right? The people in charge, but like. Who do you think's the biggest problem, like on the day-to-day? Is like the COs, like how much are they involved as far as like the healthcare? They might just bring people right to the appointment, stuff like that. Is it the nurses that are bad? Like, well, I guess what's
the COs don't get involved because it's not their job.
Right. So it's
but
not really
that's the other thing. They violate HIPAA constantly because the CO's in the room with the nurse while the inmate's being assessed. So they have an outside room that they take, the inmate in to be assessed, and they'll have a CO there. Well, if you can't give me medical documentation because you're saying that my release forms, well, there's no release form to warrant your CO standing in that because that's a HIPAA violation. Whoa. So that's what I mean. They violate their own things. You're telling me that me advocating for him with permission from him, and now we have a power of attorney to try to get rid of your policies and procedures that you want to try to implement on me, but then you're violating it yourself. That CO does not have the right to stand there while the inmate's being clinically assessed unless you have a HIPAA form. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. So as far as like the nurses, are we getting like, are they getting the best and brightest over there as far as nurses and doctors? Are they getting like the castaways? Or do we know, are there some good people?
There's a nurse that's been up there for a long, long time, and she tries to help Chad as much as she can, but the way to really help him is by going to somebody
above her head,
even above them.
Yeah.
I'm about to write to like there's a way that you can get them to be reviewed through the bureau, like the Bureau of Medicine, the ones that give them their license to operate medically. I'm about to let them know what's going on because they're doctors, and they're not doing what doctors should, but yet they're claiming to be doctors.
Yeah. So, I mean, what advice would you give to somebody, maybe, somebody's watching this and they got family that's kind of going through something similar on the inside as far as being addicted? Don't give up.
Don't give up. Even if you have to be like, a recording and press and play constantly, just keep at it because we're only going to get anywhere if you keep at it, because part of what they do by writing these letters that I call them scripted, because they're just trying to give me bullshit, and a lot of people accept that.
Yeah.
But then if you follow through with things and then you realize what you did, make a phone call, leave a message, write an email, write a letter, there's no follow through. Yeah. So I'm going to keep at them. I'll keep at them until I'm blue in the face because that's just the type of person that I am. But a lot of people get discouraged because they keep getting shot down. Yeah. The more you shoot me down, the harder I'm going to come back. And if they can't do it themselves, and it comes down to hiring legal too. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? there's lawyers out there that went and got, you know, $100,000 education, and I'm smarter than them. But find somebody. There's always somebody willing to help.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I would even put it out there. It's like, I can't help you to get, you know, your loved one's temperature taken on a daily basis. But if you're having a severe medical issue, like Chad, or like your brother, I would try to help as much as I can, or lead you in the right direction, but you have to stick with it. You can't give up on them.
So what about, like, who has the power, I guess, if there's maybe one person or position in the state, like, to change any of this? Does it have to go to the governor, senators?
I think it has to go. No, I think at this point we definitely need, because I wrote to a senator who would be Senator Liz Miranda. I gave her all of the information, because she not only does medical, like, because we did a medical parole for Chad, which got shot down, which that's a whole, I think that would be a whole other segment. But she does medical parole reform, because it is very hard to get medical parole. And she's doing second degree murder by joint venture. She's trying to get that, a reform on that for the, you know, the laws and the way that they're read and the way that they're executed in court, a reform. So somebody like Chad would have been perfect. Not only did I let her know about the medical negligence that he's suffering from, but I also put her on alert for what Vital Corps is doing.
Pull the hair a little
sorry.
away from the mic. No, you're good.
So
You're good.
for what Vital Corps is doing, and she basically told me that she wasn't willing to help.
Wow.
That I should go to PLS. PLS only has limited resources. PLS is Prisoner Legal Services. They help advocate for medical, but they can only do so much.
So what is her supposed reform supposed to be about, right? Like, how could she make it, like, easier? Like, what is she trying to get at? And it seems like it's just obviously lip service, because when she has an opportunity.
But that's exactly what I said to her. Because I was told, you know, that they're not going to take on Chads at this time, that I should reach out to Prisoner Legal Services, and that if I don't get anywhere with them, to reach back out to to her office. And I was like...
So it's another delay tactic, pretty much. Why? I'm already in contact with you.
Yeah, but they're already in cahoots. They're all in cahoots. They're all in each other's pocket. Because if you look up just the commissioner of the Department of Correction, not the commissioner of Clinical Services, the DOC commissioner, the very first, when he got appointed into that position, the very first person that was for him was Senator Liz Miranda. They're all in each other's pocket, you know, and that's why I think we need to get public on it, because public is the people that put her into office.
Right,
they voted her in.
Yeah.
And I specifically say to her, you know, her office, not to her, it's somebody in the office, that I would never ask her for her help again, because not only the plea for help that I wrote to her and asking her for help with Chad's medical negligence, but the fact that I put her on alert with Vital Corps of them, you know, falsifying documents, medical negligence, medical fraud, medical malpractice, and she turned a blind eye to it. I told her, I'll never ask you for help again, because you're not in it for your constituents, you're in it for yourself. And I got no reply.
Damn.
What does no reply mean? That you have no defense, because what I'm saying is true.
Yeah, they got nothing.
And I leave them with nothing, because they don't know what to say. Because a lot of people fear the Department of Correction. I don't. A lot of people fear people in higher up places. I don't. Because what I'm saying is true and factual. And like they say all the time, you know, the truth shall prevail.
So if you're getting all this, hitting all these roadblocks, everyone's kind of giving you the run around, but you keep documenting things. What's the next step? What's the ultimate goal? Does it have to be a lawsuit, or what? Obviously, if it is, obviously you probably can't talk about a lawsuit, but you're gonna have to sue the Department of Corrections.
Yeah, but how do I go about that? Being one person, I don't have the funding for that. I don't have the means for that. You know, there is avenues that you can call and do, like legal intake to get but they're so inundated.
So what would help? Would more people coming forward and like reaching out help, or do you got to get some things signed?
But I'm hoping that it doesn't get that far, because I will take it that far.
You just want to resolve the issue. You just want him to get.
But there's power in numbers, so I think the more people that know what's going on, the more people that get to these senators, the more public scrutiny that they suffer from, the more likely they are. But at the same time, if they don't, these people that know about it, if they don't act on it, guess what happens? Guess where your votes go? Just like toilet paper.
Yeah. And a lot of these politicians, out here, especially
But they have
too,
to be voted into office. They're not going to get the support that they want if they're not doing what they're saying that they're doing.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. A lot of them run on that, on the whole reform, you know what I mean, and all that. And
but how many people actually call them on their shit or actually reach out to them for their help?
Right.
They don't.
Now, what about the people who may say like, they're in prison, they're prisoners, who cares? Like, how would you respond? I mean, we know it's ignorance, but how would you respond to that? How would you debate that person?
You never know if that's going to be your child that's incarcerated. You can do everything right by being a parent, but until there's a book that tells you how to be a good parent, if there's a document, I want to read it.
Right.
Because I tried my best to raise two good children, and I did everything that I thought. Because what's your definition of normal? My normal and your normal might be two different things. Right. But if it works within your household and your kids are happy and fed and well taken care of, that's your normal. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And luckily, I don't know if it's because of my addiction and things that they saw me go through, I do have two good kids. They're butt heads to me, but they should be. You know what I mean? No. But as far as being out in society, they're respectful. Please and thank you goes a long way, and they know how to carry themselves. I don't have to worry about them being on social media and all of that stuff. And then you could be the best parent in the world and think you do everything right, and you still have a child that comes out an addict or a convict or this or that, a floozy. It doesn't matter. Nobody can sit here and be biased to that or ignorant to that. You can be the best parent in the world and you can still have a child with issues. And that's where we should, none of us, like I said at the beginning, are able to pass judgment, because it could easily happen to you or me. Absolutely. That's why when I'm sitting at the red lights, if I have $1, I don't care what that guy's going to do with the dollar, but that could be me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could have been so far into addiction that I was forced to peddle. I don't pass judgment on him, nor do I care what he's doing with that dollar. And I'm not doing it for brownie points. I'm doing it because he's asking for it. I have it. I might as well give it to him, because that could be me. I don't know. Right.
So say, obviously hypothetical, right? Massachusetts Department of Corrections gets rid of Vital Core, right? And say they hire you to be in charge, I guess, right? What were some things you would implement, policies, procedures, some ways that you think could help? Because it's not going to start with I don't want to answer, just give them the care that, you know what I mean? I feel like it has to start from good leadership. I guess, what are some things
But I
that
think
you would do
get rid of a private contractor, because then there's more liability at stake. There's more resources too. Sorry, I keep doing that. It's just, that's my nervous twitch. It's more accountability, just like as if
accountability is the huge,
and that's a big thing, because if they're not being held accountable, it's like the cat and mouse. The mouse gets away with getting the cheese a couple times. He's going to keep going for the cheese until the cat steps in. It's the same thought process. But if you or I were to go to Mass General and seek help through their emergency, that goes, and then if they figure out something's going on, then they refer you to pulmonary or to neurology or anything like that. But that's just healthcare that's to the community, which is what they're supposed to be in comparison to. And it seems historically like they're not. Right. So WellPath was private, now Vital Core is private. Maybe they should just get rid of private altogether.
Why wouldn't they go with someone like Partners Healthcare? I used to work for Spalding, and that's under the umbrella Mass General. Spalding,
they're all Partners Healthcare affiliates.
They are affiliates with them?
Because I don't know if they had issues or it's a security thing, but there's so much money there. They don't have to have just a unit. I mean, they would probably use it more than anything else. Right. Just a unit for convicts. But don't just house just like Nashua Street or South Bay. Do all the correctional facilities. Right. It's only a 45-minute drive they leave at 6 a.m. Yeah. How much traffic are they going to hit? They take them to court here. They can take them to medical treatment here. Get rid of Vital Core as a whole.
Absolutely. I mean, and I want to touch on
private contractors, I should say.
Absolutely. I mean, the accountability thing is big too, because like you said, if people start actually getting held accountable for their actions and actually being, other people will fall in line. It's just a whole bad culture. It's a whole bad everything over
Everything
there.
starts
It's
with
just-
management, and if management's complacent, then everybody underneath them is going to be complacent too. But the corrections officers don't even like their superior. So
Right.
what does that tell you?
Exactly.
When they're supposed to be on each other's side, and they're not in happy medium. They don't like them. The one before this was even worse.
Jeez. And so up Susan Baranowski, there's a medical unit there, right? Quote unquote. I mean, talk to me about that, and what was the experience there?
They don't even have paper towels, soap, properly running water. Like Chad's supposed to get a nebulizer treatment. The tubing is dirty. How are you going to give somebody nebulizer treatment of stuff that's going into their lungs with dirty tubing? They don't have like if you walked into the Mass General and you walked into even a public bathroom being dirty, you let the nurse know when you see somebody coming down to clean it right away.
Yeah.
Because it's healthcare. They don't have that. So the Department of,
They should have a stock of that.
But the
clean.
DPH reports as well go through that. Their HSU unit, it's disgusting. I mean, you would think that they would be clean, but they're not. So in like Chad, it's like a whole ordeal to get him to even go up there, because it's disgusting.
Jeez.
It's like you're supposed to, he doesn't want them to give him IV and stuff like that. He doesn't even know if the needle is usable
Right,
or already used.
Yeah.
And
not a
then
good
they're
thing.
bringing him down his nebulizer treatment and the tubing that I told him you can easily clean that with just running hot water.
Right.
You know what I mean? He can do that himself. He can get the tubing or ask the nurse to do it. But the nurses don't do anything or say anything because it's their job. And obviously they can't go and get a job somewhere else because they're working for a private contractor. And it's definitely not out of want. It's got to be out of necessity. Who would want to work for someone that does something like that?
That's insane. You had also mentioned the medical parole, which is a whole separate, I guess, not talking about, Chad's parole really, but just
In general,
in
what it
general,
is.
what's a medical parole? How does one get it? Why is it so hard to
A
get?
medical parole is set up for someone that is incarcerated, but it's to the point that the facility cannot, or in any instance with them, will not provide the medical care that somebody needs.
Okay.
So it's been proven that just the facility alone, just the building that they live in, they shouldn't be. It's got rodent feces, molds. And this is all documented throughout the years.
Okay.
And to put people in that. Think about it on the flip side. What about the CO that's going to work up there that doesn't realize that there's all this going on? So let's put the inmates aside since
Right.
they want to castrate being an
right,
inmate.
right.
What about the little kid that's going up there on the weekend to go visit his father on a Saturday afternoon? He's inhaling that black mold.
Innocent
He's
kid,
being exposed to those rat feces, and they allow this.
Wow.
That's not right.
I mean, I guess places could get, they could get written up, all this stuff, but I feel like it's a prison, right? It's like, it's not gonna like close down. Like,
Well, why did they close down Concord? Because of the sewage.
Right,
It's
and-
backing up.
Right. So, I mean, is that what they got to do? Is that what you think they got to do at SBCC? Is close down the whole campus?
Either that or start cleaning the vents and start getting rid of the molds properly. Have an outside place that's licensed for mold removal.
Right.
Or have somebody other than the inmates hitting the rats that are running through. Because think about it, a lot of them have food in their units. Not everybody's as clean as Chad is.
Yeah.
Or knows to wrap up their stuff. Some of them are fucking slobs.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So they're part of the problem too. And I'm not saying to stop them from having it, but if you have the right people come in to get rid of the mold and to get rid of the rats and all that stuff, it'll be less of an issue. Do you know what I mean? Just think about a rat infestation in a school. Would anybody allow that?
No. No.
Do you know what I mean? It's the same thought process. They're running this building that should be condemned. But it's not just the inmates that are there. If they want to flip that around, we can flip it around. What about the CO or the nurse from Vital Core that's going up there, or the attorney that's going up there to visit the inmate, or like I said, the little kid that's going up there because his father's incarcerated and that's the only relationship he's going to have, and his mother takes him every Saturday. That kid's getting exposed to those same elements that the inmates are getting exposed to. Think of it that way. See how people's perceptions will change about SBCC.
Absolutely. So the medical parole too, just to kind of get back to that, circle back to that. It's more of a this facility is not equipped to give the proper medical care. more
for
so
that.
than like it's not like a compassionate release. Like, oh, that guy's sick. Like, send him.
It's kind of one and the same.
Okay.
It's kind of one and the same. Compassionate release is more of a federal level.
Okay.
Generally, it needs to be an inmate that's 55 or older, but somebody like Chad that's been in there for so long, he's been so medically neglected, he would, everybody that I let see the medical parole, I wrote a medical parole for him that was 25 pages long. I got a response from them that was 2 pages that were related, not even 2 full pages. The paragraph was about that big, related to his medical, okay? And the rest of it was all related to his criminal background, which has nothing to do. That negates the whole purpose of a medical parole. He should be medical parole because he can't, the facility can't, that's generally what it's supposed to be, that they can't provide the medical need for what he needs medically. Like if somebody has cancer, they can't give cancer treatment. So somebody like them should be released, you know, on medical parole. That's what it is. It's for them to be out in the community. They can work, they can still, it's still a parole, but in order for them to get medical treatment. Now, most of them that do get it are going to die within 18 months, so they should be released. They shouldn't have to die in prison because they couldn't get medical care. But that's the whole thing. That's the reason why I wrote to Senator Miranda, because he should have gotten released on medical parole. I put it on many people that I trust, many people's eyes, and they're like, who wrote that? And I'm like, I did. You know, I don't take pride in it, but I wrote it because I followed exactly what the criteria would have called for, and he still got shot down. But he didn't get shot down because they addressed the fact that he was getting medically taken care of. They turned it around. It's not regular parole. So yes, if regular parole, that's when they would bring up their, but they used a Compass risk assessment from 2009. It's 16 years old, and it's not even that effective. And then they also said that he was at risk for drug use from a 2009 drug test. That's 16 years old too. I mean, come on, it just gets better and better. The way that they give you these shot downs, they're not, it's not warranted. It doesn't make sense. Think about it. I'm a recovering drug addict, and I take drug tests all the time. Every time I go to the doctors, I'm like, can I have a cup? You know, I do them voluntarily. But 4 years ago, 6 years ago now, 6 years ago, if I took a drug test, it would have came back positive. So does that mean I'm a drug addict for life? Yes. But does that mean I'm an active drug addict for life? No. Exactly. So they can use that and say, you know, he has a history of being a drug addict, but he's not a drug addict and he's not an active addiction. But then you lead back to a drug screen that was done in 2009. We're in 2025. That you can't do that. But what Chad's up there for to begin with, by the standards of today, he wouldn't have been sent to prison. He would have been sent to a program, because Chad is a drug addict. He is not a convict. He's not a criminal. He was under the influence, and he was part of the whole opioid epidemic before it was realized that it was an epidemic. Think about it. He went up there in 2006. Yeah,
a lot of people up there, drug addicts.
Yeah, but by today's standards, if he did exactly what he did back then, he would have been sent to a program, not to prison. But because it was during that time when they weren't acknowledging the opioid epidemic as an epidemic, do you know what I mean? He got sent to prison.
Do you ever catch any, like, I guess any pushback from family or even friends to, like, why do you care so much? Why do some people say you're wasting your time or like?
No, because they can't believe they didn't know what was going on either. So I step in and I have the voice. They don't have the time. I do. But I have a lot of support in saying that, you know, what I'm doing is right, to the point that now he's got 3 of his old school, you know, childhood friends that want to visit him, because it's not that we didn't want to be involved. It's just we thought his family was taking care of him and visiting him, so we didn't want to take visits away from them, realizing that he hasn't had a visitor since 2018.
And I mean, it's just, I guess, how impactful were those visits? How important were those visits? How did that feel for you? And then, like, what was his feedback? I'm sure he
hasn't gotten them yet. We just got them approved.
Oh, you just got the approved.
Yep,
okay.
we did hit some roadblocks with that, you know, because they always, because of Chad being who Chad is. You know, you let Chad out of the DOC, and he's got a lot of information about their corruption and things that are done within there. It's almost like they're trying to silence him.
Wow.
He wants to get out to live his life.
Right,
He doesn't want to
yeah.
get out to ruin the Department of
Yeah, right,
Correction.
exactly.
But what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. He has a lot of things that he could say, and that's what they're afraid of, is he has been there for so long, and his eyes have been on many things that they almost don't want to let him out at this point.
That's insane.
Because anything that comes to him, you get kickback on everything and anything. And the thing is, he has not one disciplinary ticket against a CO or against somebody that works there, where you have people that are getting out on just regular parole that have a laundry list of just infractions on DOC workers.
Damn.
So you have a kid that's been in there for 20 years. They cited him for one, they on the medical parole denial, they did cite him. They said that he had three disciplinary they call them tickets, disciplinary tickets. 2 of them, which cracks me up, is for harboring medication. He had Motrin.
Wow.
I would have harbored medication too. I don't care where I was. Look at what they do to him.
No.
So he was just saving it for the next morning because he doesn't know, he didn't need it at that time. They were giving it to him. He put an ibuprofen in his pocket in case he needed it for the morning when they don't come around at the right time or the same time to do medical care. Wow. But that's what they cited as all right, that's a disciplinary ticket, but in 20 years, he has a D ticket for harboring a friggin' Motrin.
Yeah, that's insane.
And he's a violent person in the rest of society. Give me a break.
And I believe a lot of that classification and like tickets stay, like I think tickets, my brother was telling me they stay on your record longer now when you go in front of classification. They're just doing all sorts of funky shit.
Chad's
man.
most recent ticket, and he hasn't gotten a ticket in, like I said, a long time, was because his phone tablet wouldn't hold a charge, and he brought it up to the desk, told them that his tablet wouldn't keep a charge, and he got a disciplinary ticket for it, saying that he did something to
tampered with it or
yeah.
whatever.
How do you tamper with that? Thing's not holding a charge. You can't even turn it on. How can he tamper with it?
Yeah, that's
it's
insane.
just the thought process behind it. And they do that for protection of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them taking the tablet back and giving him a new one, which anybody would do normally, they have to make it seem like the inmate did something wrong.
Right, exactly, because they don't want to take no accountability, no responsibility, man. So where does everything stand now as far as his health on a day-to-day? Is he generally good, or is it still like a struggle every day, or are they getting better with you kind of on their ass, or is it just, do you feel like it's more retaliatory?
Yeah, it's definitely retaliatory, because when he came back from the hospital, when he was sent out for his medical on the 25th of October, they put him in, they should have put him back in the K1 block, which is the Life is block.
Okay.
And they didn't. They put him on L1.
So
which is almost like a new man block.
Yeah.
Guys don't know how to do cell time.
Yeah,
Chad's not only been there for 21 years, he's 49 years old.
Yeah.
He can do cell time. And that's the thing, he was there 24 days, and out of the 24 days, they were on unit lockdown for 15 of them. He should have never been sent there. They put him there purposely to make sure that he was neglected medically. It's like, oh, you want to make us take you out of the facility? Right. So now somebody out of the facility knows what's going on with you. Now you put us on alert. So now they put him in a block that literally is like fucking torture.
So is that the next move, trying to get him off that block?
We did. We got him off the block. Now he's on the G2 block, and that's when he realized your brother was there, and he's like, hey, a familiar face.
Okay, yeah. So he's getting... Is he still getting poor attention over there, or is it
just right back to the regular poor attention they were getting? It's not any better, but it's not any worse. But that's still not good enough,
So I guess talk a little bit about why this is so important for you, and why having somebody on the outside is important too for the guys on the inside.
Well, I can't say what the ultimate goal is, but he needs to be able to survive for now. Until something better comes his way. Let's leave it there.
Okay, absolutely. So, say you were to get the ear of, one person that could actually do something, and you had, what do you call it? The elevator pitch, right? You had a freaking elevator ride with this person, a senator or a governor or Donald Trump, whoever could do something, right?
Yeah.
What would that pitch be like? What are some things that you would tell that person about, like, what's going on, and like, how would you plead with them, and how would you try to get them to care and want to fix it?
Because you're in the position of power. You took this position with the job description, don't take a job that you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when you're in, I mean, not so much the public eye, but you're using it. We're in a state where it's like we call it Massachusetts. Our taxes are astronomical.
Right.
And we know that there's many funds wasted. But if you're in a position of power to help somebody and you don't, then you shouldn't be a public official, period. You're supposed to be our voice. You know, a room full of 20, you hire that one person to be your voice. You know what I mean? And that's what these people are. They're supposed to be the voice of the public. You get a whole community evolved into one person.
Right.
And that person is supposed to represent that community. And when you don't, that should be a problem. Because people are uneducated or people don't know about things. They take this position, being educated and knowing about things, and then you don't do something about it. Well, then you shouldn't be given that power and give it to somebody that might, hopefully, do the right thing.
Absolutely. So why should the general public care about this, right? Why should they care about this? I mean, they get their tax money's getting wasted, waste, fraud, and abuse. Why should they care?
But just think about a parent that struggles every day and goes to work and pays their taxes and they're barely making ends meet and their kid has to go to public school. Wouldn't you rather that money go to the public school that you're busting your ass for your kid to go to?
Right.
You're busting your ass to pay your taxes rather than go into someone's pocket that doesn't do anything for it.
Yeah.
You know, sits there and lollygags over it. I think I would.
Absolutely.
You know, and I don't want any more from the system. I've come to the conclusion that, you know, it is what it is because I do have a sick child and I've learned to live poorly, and I'm okay with that. We're not hurting, you know. And when it comes to our medical, because I've been so knowledgeable and on them for so long, now it's like we have that rapport with each other. It's like if I don't ask for something that I don't think that my child needs.
Yeah.
I don't ask for above and beyond. I want her to get what she needs.
Yeah.
So if she needs medical attention, she gets it. If she needs to be on a certain, because now she's on the continuous glucose monitor, which is, it's about the size of a nickel, and it goes to her phone. And if her sugars are going low, it alerts me. And I don't even have, I'm not even in the, it's given me a lot of freedom being a parent of a child with diabetes. You know what I mean? Because it'll alert me if she's going low, so I can go up, especially with her being an adult.
Right.
You know, she has her freedom and I have mine. But it's not holding us to the diabetes anymore. But even getting that was a struggle. But now it's like we have that rapport with them. They know I don't ask for something that's not needed, and that should be the same thing with them.
Absolutely.
We're not asking for them to get the cure for all cures, but give them what's medically needed and let them live their lives, you know?
Absolutely. So what are the effects that the physical health problems can take on like someone's mental health? Because I feel like that could affect someone's mental health as well. Is that something that you have noticed at all? You know, how's Chad's mental health? Everything's good as far as that goes? I know that could be a struggle anyways in there, never mind all this stuff going on. I mean,
yeah, well, Chad has expressed to me, and that's another reason why I don't give up on him. Before I, got in contact with him again and got reacquainted with him, he had been going through this medical stuff for a long time, and he was really ready to call it quits.
No.
He was willing to take his own life because nobody else saw his life as valuable.
Wow.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine. He tells me all the time, it's like you lit a fire under my ass, and I give him the strength that he needs on that side to not give up and to keep doing what he needs to do and to keep fighting. But that's another, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Nobody should be pushed to that point that they want to take their own lives because someone else is not taking care of their lives with them like they're supposed to be.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like that, it's like that revolving door. It's it's crazy to me.
How does that make you feel when he tells you that? Like you lit a fire under his ass. You know what I mean? How does that make you feel about everything you're doing? Does that make you feel?
I don't want
good
recognition
about it?
for any of this. I don't want someone to pat me on the back and say, Danielle, you did a good job. That's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because he needs it. He needs it.
Yeah.
And because if I get it done for him, then it'll open up the door and it'll get it done for others. It's that domino effect.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do love and care for Chad and I do want what's best for him, but it goes beyond him. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you can make a change for one, you can make a change for more.
Absolutely.
And those people that don't have a voice in there. because I do have the knowledge that I have, and I do have the capability that I have, and I do have the strength that I have, if I keep it to myself, just like my sobriety, I'm gonna lose it. You know what I mean? You can't, your brain is just like a muscle. Unless you use it and exercise
lose
you're going to lose it. I'll lose my mind with the thoughts that I have and the things. I need something to do, you know, and this gave me something to do. And it's something that could just help others. And that's what it's been about for me. Because just like with my sobriety, I will help anybody. If I can't help you, I won't hurt you. I do have an aggressive nature, but my aggressiveness comes from I'm reactive toward you're doing something. Do you know what I mean? I've never been known to start a fight, but I'm known to finish them. And I'm not proud of that. But it goes back to this. They started something, and I would like to finish it with a result. And if I can help Chad can help others. And he's doing that now. He's advocating. He's helping guys do grievances that otherwise wouldn't be able to write them. You know, it's lit a fire in him too. And he's helping guys because like I said, it all comes down to the simple fact of what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
And we're all in this, you know, we're all in this together too, you know what I mean? So I guess why was it important for you to come up here specifically and try to get this out to the public, right? Like, what are you trying to accomplish
because your platform is perfect. And then, you know, I watch all of them. And when Chad had gotten moved to the same block as your brother and started talking to him, and Chad was telling me about your brother, that's another reason why, because I know. That's why I asked you, like, what's your capacity with your brother? Do you even talk to him and stuff? And the fact that you're trying to help him, but your knowledge about it is limited. If I have the knowledge, I'm going to give it to you so you can help your brother, because I'm sure that you feel the same way. You feel like you hit a roadblock sometimes. It's like, which way do I go now? You know, and like I said, there's power in numbers.
For sure.
So how else am I going to get it out there? I have 1,900 friends on Facebook, but that doesn't mean everybody sees my posts.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way the algorithm works, you know. So it's like if I tell you have the platform for the podcast, and then one person sees it, and then another person sees it, you know, it's like one hand washes the other. We can all help each other in a good way.
Absolutely.
Like I said, if I can't help you, I'm not going to hurt you.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, was there something that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get a chance to, or if
no? Because if you lead me to my own demise, I tend to ramble.
Oh no, it's all good. So
No.
I guess some closing words then for the audience. I think I would love to have you back to talk your story if you're willing. That would be fine, or something to consider. But either way, I guess some closing words for the audience, and I do appreciate you know, coming up to the platform and giving people a different perspective and getting this stuff out there that people need to know about, because a lot of people, they're just unaware. So we're gonna let y'all know.
Just if you can help in any way, if you have any capacity, or you know somebody that knows somebody, because it is still about building those relationships and building good rapport with people. I don't want something for nothing. Do you know what I mean? If I can help you and you can help me, then we can help each other. That's the best way to go about it. But if you can't help, please don't hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, don't chime in with the negativeness. If you have nothing nice to say, just go back to your roots. Don't say anything at all. Exactly. None of us need the negativity. Because if you put negative out there, don't think karma's not going to come and bite you in the ass, because it does.
That's for sure.
And you know, and it, like I said, if I can't help you, I'm definitely not going to hurt you, and I just want the same respect. If someone out there can help us, let us know. So, and if you can't, leave us alone.
So
you know?
what if somebody like wants to help, but they don't have family locked up, or you know, they're not in a position of power or anything, like just your average person they want to help, how can they help? Can they call politicians? Be like, hey, you guys got to do something?
Absolutely. That's another thing that I'm glad that you reminded me of that. Yes. Letters to the politicians, just being a taxpayer, not even being a taxpayer, just be somebody that might be upset by the story. You know what I mean? Because it's all true and factual. There's two things you're never going to get out of me. And one of them's a lie. I won't tell you what the other one is. But one of them's not a lie. Because it's just not in me to try to make something up to get something or somewhere out of somebody. Everything that I'm saying, not only am I saying it because it's true and factual, but I have black and white on it.
Absolutely.
I can prove it. Do I want to go that far? No. Because that's two things that I have left, is my word and my name. And if anybody's going to destroy them, it's going to be me.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So I have to stand on something solid.
So, I mean, all right, I want to try to get like, a message, right? Chad's been in for a while. You talk to him every day, so I'm sure you know like what it feels like for someone to be inside, right? Or you kind of see how miserable it is. I guess like a message for the youth to tell them, maybe try to stay away from places like that. How can they stay away from jail? I guess try to get to the youth, because a lot of kids out there right now, it seems like they're very misguided. So I'll try to
everything on
end
the
with
internet,
a positive message.
Everything on the internet's not true. The vanity of the world today is just not something. When you're coming to this world naked and alone, you're gonna go out the same way.
No.
Why try to get one up on each other? Why not try to be, where's the camaraderie and the neighborhoodness?
Exactly.
It almost feels like it's a dying breed. It really does. My kids were raised with the please and thank you.
Yeah.
Just don't think that you're ever gonna, just because you have monetary things doesn't make you any better than the next, because take away the monetary, I guarantee you, you have the personality of a wet mop. Where's that going to get you?
Right.
How many people are going to help you because they only like you when you're up?
Yeah, 'cause you get
what
the
happens when you're down? Where are your resources? How are you going to maneuver throughout life? You know what I mean? And it's like, if it just don't always rely on the internet, and don't think that it's like getting over on somebody's going to get you anywhere, because karma's going to get you eventually. You know what I mean? Just be a good person. Stop being a dick.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had mentioned God a couple times, and and doing this and fighting as hard as you have, right? You got to have like faith, right? So I guess talk about how much that faith in God and how much God has meant to you with this, but I mean life in general.
God comes first with me, then my sobriety, then my kids, then my family, then my friends. Without God, the God as I understand them, I don't care if you believe that something is bigger than you.
Right.
It could be a sunflower. Just know that there's something out there bigger than yourself. You know what I mean? And I believe in God. I read the Bible. I have it tattooed on my arm. That's Psalm 17, verse 8 and 9, and it says, hide me under the shadow of your wings, which means guide me, because obviously my way didn't work. It didn't. And I turned to God, and ever since I've turned back to God, because I turned away from him, and it's not an excuse, but because of what happened to my kids.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you do this to me,
Absolutely.
And it's like, he didn't.
Absolutely.
He didn't. It's just something that maybe manifested through time with the help of man. And just the things that we're predisposed to, like even dietary, environmentally, we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe that God did it to me anymore. But once I turned my life around and I turned back to God and I started walking with the Lord again, things have changed.
Exactly. And maybe like, it's not like, oh, he didn't do this to me. He did this for me, right? Because like maybe if, your kid wasn't sick, it wouldn't have led you down the path and doing everything you're doing now with Chad, and and that's gonna
The domino effect.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So not that you would ever wish any like illness on a child or anything, but it's
No.
like sometimes, like you said,
It could have been the savior for me too, because I didn't get sober for my kids. I got sober for myself, because at the end of the day, the only one that can get me high is me.
No.
The only one that can keep me sober is me.
No, absolutely.
You have to get it right, And did I get it right the first time? No. The second time? No. And I'm that type of person that does learn from my mistakes, and I did.
Awesome.
And my mistakes didn't ruin them. It was ruining me, and I had to see my self-worth, because I am capable of a lot. God gifted me with this. I still don't know why, but maybe for this reason, I don't know. But yes, God is major. And Chad and I, every night, because the phones go off at 9:50, every night from 9:45 to 9:50, we pray. And we say the Lord's Prayer every single night.
That's beautiful.
You have to.
That's beautiful.
And you have to thank God for the things, whether they're good things or bad things. Or a good day or a bad day.
Exactly.
I'm just grateful for the day, because
Exactly.
life is going to life sometimes, and life is going to life hard. And then at the end of the day, it's going to life no matter what,
Yep. Exactly. And I think that's a perfect way to end this here. Like I always say, like, it is what it is. Like, what's next, though? Like, you know what I mean? What's next? And I say that,
Keep
like, what's
giving
next
it.
is what you make it. So,
Yep.
Daniela, thank you very, very much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm B. Luke. This is the Bounce Back Podcast. Remember, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. On that note, we're out of here. Peace.
Bounce back, ain't got a moment. When they see you down, there's